Okay, now stay with me on this one. An ice cream company comes out with two products. Product A is an ice cream cone with 2 scoops of the same flavor. So if you pick vanilla, you get 2 scoops of vanilla, you can't interchange the flavors. They sell that for $5 and they call it the low because it's like the budget, whatever. Product B is 3 scoops this time around. You can interchange the flavors and you get sprinkles. And they sell that for $10. They call it Big Joe. Yes, I'm rhyming. Now, obviously, we know which ice cream is better, but which one do you think most people would actually buy? Cool. We're thinking the same thing, right? Right? Welcome to the 020 review. About a week ago, the Zero Ultra and the 020 were launched, and everyone focused on the Ultra, rightfully so. I mean, a curved screen, 200 megapixel main sensor, 180 watt fast charging, among other things. But at the end of the day, most people won't buy the Ultra. They just can't afford it. And that's when the attention turns to the 020, the more affordable one. And don't get me wrong, by no means is 212,000 affordable, but that's thanks to the Naira and its problems. So what do we get with the 020? Well, let me tell you. This gives off a different feel in the hand from the Ultra. The Ultra feels slim, weighty, and sleek, while this feels boxy, lighter, and thick. It feels a lot like the iPhone in my opinion. It can also stand on its own if you were wondering. It also feels wider in the hand because of the flat screen. I especially love the camera module. It does protrude, so it does rock on a table, but I mean, who cares? It has a matte plastic finish on the back with a chrome glossy frame. The matte back hides fingerprints well, but I don't think it would do well with scratches. The glossy frame though is a fingerprint magnet. This is the deep grey colour. My personal favourite would be the gold, but this is pretty cool too. Overall, I really dig the design. And like I said in my Ultra review, I definitely prefer this camera module. It does look a bit more premium. Speaking of camera bump, let's talk about the cameras. This has a 108 megapixel main camera, 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a third depth camera. The selfie camera is 60 megapixels. That, I believe, is some sort of record. It's also optically stabilized and has autofocus. By default, it shoots 12 megapixel photos and they look great. HDR, color, sharpness, they're all on point. Out in the sun, the results are quite impressive. For more detail, you can switch to the 108 megapixel mode though. It looks really similar to the regular mode in terms of color, but with more megapixels come crispier images. Photos from the ultra wide came out okay as well, definitely softer, and just like the Ultra, the colors don't match the main sensor. For photos at night, we get night mode, and the photos are quite good. The selfie cameras didn't really impress me. I feel saturation could have been upped and the photos could be sharper, but with a bit of editing, they could turn out fantastic. Okay, so this is the front-facing camera, video quality test, audio test as well, because this phone has 2 mics, one at the top and at the bottom. Now, this is without any, I would say, stabilization, but you can switch to that. It would crop in a little bit, but for now, this is what it looks like at 1080p, 30 frames per second. It does go up to 2K 30 frames per second. Should we switch to 2K? Okay, so this is 2K 30 frames per second. Can you tell the difference between this and 1080p? I don't know. Can you? Can you though? Okay, so this is what that ultra steady mode looks like. The sun is literally busting up my face right now. But how does it look? I can already feel that it's way more stable. So if you're holding this and you're just like walking along the road, you can see how stable it is. So which mode do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. This is what video looks like on the rear facing cameras of the Infinix 020. It does shoot up to 2K in resolution, but if you want stabilization, you have to stick with 1080p. But I want you to tell me your overall thoughts on the cameras of the Infinix 020. For the display, it's 6.7 inches. It's a 1080p 90Hz AMOLED display. It's fine. decently sharp, colorful, has those deep blacks. It's a good AMOLED display. 90Hz is actually fine for a lot of people. It's pretty smooth. You can actually still tweak the display in the settings if you're into that. I typically don't tweak these settings, but to each their own. For brightness, it gets plenty bright, so very usable outdoors. No complaints really, except for that U-shaped cutout. The selfie camera is pretty big, yes, but I think people would have preferred a slightly bigger punch hole than a U-shaped cutout. It just makes the phone look a bit dated. Going on to the display, Infinix went with the Helio G99 chipset. It's a 6nm processor, which is set to be more efficient. It's also what enables this phone to have a 108MP main camera. For GPU, it's the Mali G57, and judging based off of the time I've spent with the 20, performance has been fine. I'm definitely not the person who games on their smartphone, but the little gaming I did ended up working pretty fine. I think the more popular, heavier titles would work just about fine. Just bear in mind that it's still a mid-tier SoC, so you shouldn't be expecting too much in terms of graphical performance. But for everyday regular phone users, you can expect a capable enough phone for multitasking and gaming. Battery life is also pretty good. The whole advantage with having a processor built on a smaller nanometer like the G99 is power efficiency, so the phone would consume less battery. Now, if you're a lighter phone user, the occasional gaming, music listening, texting, social media, you can go all day with this phone, but on heavier days, you really wouldn't. It has a 4500 mAh cell, which is actually decent, but nothing crazy. But the good thing is it's paired with a 45W fast charger. 45 minutes of charging with this took me from 8% to 90%, which isn't as mind-blowing as the Ultra, but I think it's still impressive. Most phones don't charge that fast. Here are some little things that don't really fit into any category. So we've got a side-mounted fingerprint reader, and it's fast. It has 2 speakers on here, and they're also really good. There's a headphone jack, remember that. No official IP rating, no Gorilla Glass protection for the screen. There is expandable storage though. There's a tray for 2 SIMs and an SD card. This isn't a 5G phone, it's a 4G phone. And I think that's everything. I kind of saved software for last, because yeah, although the new XOS 12 looks nice, the always on display also looks nice, there are cool animations, that's all great, but there are still 2 major software problems. One, we still have pre-installed apps. Of course, those could be disabled, so it's not that big of an issue. But the second issue is the lack of major OS updates. 2 to 3 years of major OS updates is basically what you expect from a phone at this price point. So yeah, that's my 020 review. Love the design. The main camera is really good, the selfie cameras are okay, but I did have higher expectations. Battery life is great, performance as well, but we need major software updates, especially at this price. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.